Hello, this is Bob Long. This is going to be a maintenance video on the VCOM. This is the new spool engine for the VCOM. Very simple. There's just a few things that you got to remember, and I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot this engine. Remember, this pressures are completely different than the poppet engine. This one takes about 75 low pressure and about 150 to 175 high pressure. It varies. Every gun's different, so there's no magic number. Remember, all spool engines need to be lubed continuously. So you need to lube the gun at least once a day to keep everything nice and movable, because you're using O-rings to seal instead of poppets. Okay, what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to show you all the parts of the motor. This is the ram shaft. It has a couple O-rings on it. It has a bumper O-ring right here, which is a number 10, and it's got a number 11 right here. Second thing, it's got a number 4 O-ring right here. It's a little teeny O-ring. That is used to line up the bolt. A lot of you people are putting Teflon thinking it's going to move and stuff like that. That's what that O-ring's for. It's not going to let it move. So, we have changed a few things. This is the new lightweight bolt. Is it going to improve? No, I'm just trying to get the maximum performance. A little bit lighter, a little bit less kick. Other than that, absolutely no performance difference. This is the new shutoff. As you can tell, the pins are completely in a different place. Now when we line this thing up, I'll explain to you where do you line it up and stuff like that. All motors now are coming with a number 20 O-ring right here. If you don't have a 20 O-ring and it seals, good, that's great, it's perfectly lined up. But we put that 20 O-ring right there. That eliminates, if you put it in a little bit crooked or something like that, it straightens it out. These two little grooves right here are balance O-rings. All those are for, it balances the other O-rings where the piston stays in, the motor stays in perfectly straight. Those take 6s. These two right here take 6s or 7s. The front one never takes a 7, but the back one can take a 7. And if you have a leaking problem, I'm going to tell you how you're going to have a leaking problem. What you're going to do is, if you back your LPR completely off and your leak goes away, it's 100% coming from that 7 right there. So now you can troubleshoot it, you can chase it down. If you're having a leak, always make sure you get a little grease underneath that O-ring and put the O-ring on top, and then you got to have it on both sides of the of the O-ring to get it to seal 100%. A lot of people hear a leak in their gun and they can't figure out where it is. A lot of people are totally forgetting about this number 12 O-ring right here. It's right inside this little chamber. It's on the back side. You have a 10. It's a 110. It's a big O-ring on the front. That one's not as critical as this back one. This back one is very critical because if it leaks into here, it leaks into the low pressure chamber, which leaks out the bleed of the solenoid. So if you hear a leak and you can't figure it out, I'm going to say it's probably this O-ring right here. All you do is just take a pick, pop it out, put grease inside of it, put the O-ring back in. Remember, it's got to get grease on the back side of it too to seal. So it's really simple to do. It's just a little bit more maintenance. And when we're using inner O-rings instead of outer O-rings, it's a little bit more maintenance for you right here. So, that's a real common O-ring to have a problem with. And you can tell, say for instance, you shoot it 3 or 4 times and the leak disappears, it's that O-ring right there. What it's doing is grease is getting in behind the O-ring after you shoot it a few more times. You have a number 25 in here, which is a seal, and you have a number 4 in here, which is a seal. Those are very common. Nothing really to worry about. A little bit of teeny grease. Don't over grease this thing to where it's gobs in there. You just want just a little bit of grease in there and make it smooth. And then you don't forget about your number 18. Your 18 has to seal the back part of that engine. So what you'll do when you're assembling this thing, you'll set your 18 in, you'll take your shutoff and set it in, push it down all the way. Now it's seated into that back part. You got your number 20 O-ring on there. See those 2 little grooves right there? You want to set them into those little grooves. and you got to set it in really carefully and then slowly screw it in, and it'll just screw right together. If it's bound, it won't screw together. So that's all that's to it. Screw it in, tighten it up, take your ram. Now when you're greasing your ram, just make sure your shaft is all greased, your oil's all greased. That's about all the grease you need. Kind of try to keep the grease off the threads here, which is hard to do. Make sure you grease those number 12s that I talked about in there on that shutoff. And then slide this in. It just pops in like so. And this seals to here. This goes to here. And this screws in. Remember, don't put Teflon tape or anything like that. If you're having a little bit of problem with it coming off, use some type of sealant. Loctite has a sealant that kind of gums up threads. Very little blue Loctite if you have to. But this is an important factor. Keep this greased up. Don't gobs, just mix it lubed. Stuff like that. We use Tri-Flow. It's a pretty simple oiling system, and we oiled these two O-rings. These two O-rings are oil. Your grease is right here on these seal O-rings. Your grease is on these seal O-rings. And that's all there is. If you're sliding it into your engine, I mean, and it's really hard to get out, it shouldn't be hard to get out. It should be fairly hard to get in, but it shouldn't be hard to get out. If it is, check and see if there's a seam right here, right across here, and see if this expanded loose. If it did, you need to send it back and let us weld it. We use a material called JB Weld. It has to be a press fit. That's the only way. We do not have enough room in there to get any like threads or lock nuts. We can't do none of that. We cannot manufacture the thing with one piece because we have that transfer. We have to transfer the air from here to here. I hope this helps you with this. It should slide right into the motor. I mean, into the gun. Fairly simple. Always do this when you're sliding in. This is another factor. So slide in your two O-rings. Hold your thumb right across the O-ring right there for that number 7 and turn it till it grooves right into that. So let me do this again. You slide it in, leave it right into that groove. You put your thumb against the O-ring and then slide it right on around. Now it's in loading position. Now you just open this up, pull it back, and shut it. Just like so. That's all that's to it. It should slide right out and come right on out. Very simple. Okay, I want to thank you.